Hi, everybody. First and foremost, I hope you are all doing well in every sense of what that means during these times. This is actually my sixth recording of a rabbinic story. The first five were a continuous narrative. This is a new narrative, and it relates to Longbow Omer. It involved different characters. And also, of course, as promised originally, there will be miracles, there will be politics, there will be halacha, everything that makes our rabbinic stories amazing, and this will not disappoint. First, I'm going to start out by showing you the time period we're looking at and the specific people that we're going to look at. They're all actually there are these three rabbis. They're all students of Rabbi Akiva. You see that here. They're very different personalities. We're going to see that in a second, which is a testament to a teacher who's able to reach and teach different students. And that was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, and also we will see Rabbi Elazar. And after the story, I'll explain the connection to Longbow Omer, which is coming up next week as well. Okay, so those are the people we're looking at. And now let me go ahead and we'll start with this story. And actually, it starts out with the three rabbis just hanging out and talking. The Yashvu, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, the three of them were sitting, Yashvu, Yatev, Yehuda ben Gerim, Gabayu. And also Yehuda ben Gerim was sitting with them. Patach Rabbi Yehuda v'amar. Rabbi Yehuda opened up and said, Kama na'ima seim shalom azo. So I forgot to mention when I looked at that chart, hold on a second, let me get it for you again. When I looked at that chart, what I meant to show you also was when they lived. And they lived after the destruction of the Beit Mikdash. So the Romans are well established in Israel. And so you see here that we're looking at this, it's I guess according to this about 160, the destruction was in 70, you see that up here. And so they're sitting and reflecting on the fact that the Romans are present, okay? So now let me go back to the actual Talmud page. Rabbi Yehuda opens up. So these Romans, how amazing, how nice are their accomplishments. Tiknu Shvakim, they established roads, they established bridges or set bridges. Tiknu Merchatzaot, and they also established bathhouses. Rabbi Yossi Shatak. So we have the first two rabbis. The first one, Rabbi Yehuda praises them. Rabbi Yossi is quiet. And Nana, Rabbi Shimon ben Yohai v'amar. Rabbi Shimon ben Yohai answers. They didn't do anything. They didn't do us any favors, Rabbi Yehuda. That's what Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai says. No, they did these things for themselves. Tiknu shvakim, they made the roads to Hoshi bayin zonot in order to make prostitution available. Merchatzot la'adem bayin atzmam, to beautify themselves. They created the bathhouses, gisharim, and the bridges, litolme and meches, in order to basically to charge us taxes, to make us take these bridges, and then that was a source of income for them. Halach, Rabbi Yehuda ben Gerin. So the fourth person sitting with him, Yehuda ben Gerin, he went, Siper Divrei, he started talking about what the three rabbis said, V'nishmu l'malchut, and eventually the Romans found out, the government. Amru Yehuda she'ilah itale. It's interesting also, it's Rabbi Yehuda bar Ilai, and here we have a play on that. Yehuda she'ilah, who praised the Romans, yitale, will be elevated. Yossi Shatak, in other words, he'll get more authority. Yossi Shatak, Yossi demurred. He was quiet. He didn't say anything pro or con in response to what Rabbi Yehuda said. Yigla l'tzipori, he'll be banished from Jerusalem to Tzipori, another city. Shimon Shigina, and Shimon, who put us down, Yehareg, he will be killed. Okay, so we're going to see what happens now. How do they deal with the punishments now that how Shimon bar Yochai in particular and his son will deal with the threat on his life. Azal Hubre, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and his son, they went and they hid in a Beit Midrash, a study hall. Kol Yoma hava maiti lehu debitu rifta echuza demaya el-chrachi. Every day, Rabbi Shimon's wife used to bring her husband and her son bread and water to drink, and that's how they sustain themselves. Kitikif gezerata. But then in the meantime, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai has disappeared, and the decree against them is made stricter and more threatening. Amar le lebrei, Rabbi Shimon says, Nashim datan kalalen dilma mitzare lao megalialan. So this is definitely a stereotype of Rabbi Shimon's, which we know not to be true. Rabbi Shimon is saying women are weaker, and so he's afraid that his wife would give into torture and expose them. Azlu tashu b'mata. So they left the Beit Midrash, the study hall, for fear of being exposed, and they went to a cave. Here comes the nace, here comes the miracle. And so they go into this cave, and a miracle happens, and charuva, a carob tree, and a spring suddenly appear in front of the cave. So it makes the cave appear maybe inaccessible, maybe hides it, but in any case, this miracle successfully keeps Shimon bar Yochai and his son safe. They took off their clothes. They buried themselves in sand. They spent all day learning. Except when they got up, they put on their clothes and they davened in order to pray. And then they got undressed again. Why did they do this? To preserve their clothes. These are the only clothes they have. They need them to last. And so it's actually echoes of what we know about, what we are told about Bnei Israel in the desert. Their clothes didn't wear out, and the desert obviously has quite a bit of sand. And so there are echoes of that here. They hide in the sand in order to not wear out their clothes. They spent 12 years in the cave this way. Eliyahu Hanavi, who has appeared in a previous story. He is the harbinger, the one who's going to announce the coming of the Mashiach, obviously very closely connected with God. And so he knows where they are. Basically, he goes by the opening of the cave and he says, Man Lode, who's going to tell Bar Yochai, the son of Yohai, Demit Kesar Batel Gezerte, that the Roman Caesar has died, and therefore his decree against Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai is nullified. Nafku. So Shimon bar Yochai and his son Elazar come out of the cave. So they see a man who is plowing and planting in the fields. They come out, they see life continuing as usual. Amar, and he says, they are very upset by this. We see somebody putting aside ideas of eternal life, and worrying themselves with day-to-day life. They get very angry. And what angered them here? I actually heard this from Rabbi Daniel Hartman. He said, well, they've been bearing up to their necks. They had been totally leading an intellectual, an abstract existence. Suddenly they come out and see that existence isn't only abstract, that there's a reality and that people need food and they need to live their lives in a way that keeps them alive, essentially, and it isn't only about intellect. And they're offended. They're deeply offended, feel threatened by this. They've been out of touch with reality. And so they react angrily. Everywhere they look, they're so intense about this feeling, this passion that they have about the wastefulness of daily life and how important it is to focus on eternal life and the abstract and philosophical and intellectual. Miyad nisraf. They're so intense about this, their passion burns. Miyad nisraf. Their eyes are burning things that they look at. Yatz tabakol, voice comes from the heavens. We've had a voice from the heavens before too. This one has more of an effect. The voice says to them, I took you out of the cave to destroy my world. So God actually has an appreciation for the daily life. This is his world they're destroying. He does not approve of their intensity and passion and disrespect for day-to-day life. Go back to your cave, he says. Hadarazo. They went back. They spent another 12 months there. Amri, and then it was said, Mishpat Rishayim beGehenim, Shnei Masar Chodesh. 12 months is a punishment for Gehenim. In Judaism, we don't have a hell per se. We have a Gehenim, an intermediate phase. And the more time somebody needs to get to Olam Haba, an actual positive afterlife, then that's more of an indication that they were not good characters. And so in this case, you see actually the full 12 months being served here in this intermediate stage by Rabbi Shimon, or I should say, the idea they're going back to the cave for that amount of time implies that they are worthy of the intermediate stage after death that a very bad person would have before going to Olam Haba. So they spend those 12 months there and then they come out. Yatztabakol ve'amra, and then a voice comes out again. Go ahead. Time for another chance. Nefaku, they left. Now, Rabbi Elazar, the son, didn't get the message. He's still looking around and burning stuff up. Hava Mase Rabbi Shimon. But Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, the dad, he got it, and he heals everything Rabbi Elazar causes to spoil or go bad or punishes with his eyesight. Amarlo. B'ni, my son, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai sees this as a positive. The two of them balance each other out. So still some lack of understanding about what it means to exist in the real world, okay? Still some self-involvement, some narcissism there. Then, so the two of them, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, balance out the world. So they're looking around, they see somebody, as Shabbos approaches, Chazu Hahu Saba, they see an older man, a grandfather, to have a Naki Tre Medane Asa. He gathers two myrtle bunches of myrtle branches. Verahit ben Shmashon. He's rushing during twilight, the time really right before Shabbat. Amrule, they said to him, Hani lamalach, why do you have these sticks? Amar lehu lichvod Shabbat. He says, I'm gathering sticks in honor of Shabbat. One can imagine either to prepare food for Shabbat, to light for Shabbat, v'tizki lach bechad. So if it's for Shabbat, there's one Shabbat, they say, why don't you just have one branch? Chad keneged zachor, one keneged zachor, one keneged shamor. So in the Aseret HaDibrot, in Shemot, and then in Devarim, we see two different words being used in the context of Shabbat, shamor and zachor. And so this man is saying, I've got a bunch of twigs for each of those mitzvot in the Torah, each of those dibrot. Amar le livrei. So Shimon Bar Yochai says to his son, Chaze kama chavivin mitzvot al Yisrael. See how beloved the mitzvot of God are, the commandments of God are to the Jews, yativ daitu. And so then they're yashiv, they had nachat ruach, they relax, basically. Okay, so there's still some lack of receiving the message here, I would say, to some degree, because they, somehow the people need to prove themselves, right? They're still going out and saying the Jewish people need to prove themselves to us and show that they're dedicated by our own standards. But I guess the good news here is that they say, okay, so we have been reassured by the conduct of this man who has passion at the same time as he is attending to a passion for mitzvot, for the holy, at the same time as he is attending to practical needs. Now, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is associated with Lag BaOmer, which is coming up, and I want to explore that a little bit because, first of all, I want to show the text here that discusses from the Aruch HaShulchan, that discusses what the practices, the connection is between Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Lag BaOmer. So let me go to that right now. Okay. Okay. I'm going to share the screen with you, and this is the Aruch HaShulchan. Rabbi Chia Michal Epstein, and here's what he says: Shemachzikin hayom hazeh. So this is talking about Lag BaOmer. Liktzat Yom Tov. It's almost like a Yom Tov. B'chag v'gam b'mincha shelafanav, and also the day before in the afternoon. V'regil nikrato halul de Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And so we sing the praises of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai on this day, the same Rabbi Shimon we just saw in the story. V'beretz Yisrael marvin b'tfilah b'habak hadneirot. And in Israel, they say a lot of tefillot and they light candles on his grave. HaKadosh, that's what they're calling. That's what he's referring to his grave as the holy grave. And so what's the association between Shimon Bar Yochai and Lag BaOmer? They say that his soul departed on this day, he died on that day, and that also he left the cave, and we just saw the story, that he left the cave on that day. And so that's the association between Shimon Bar Yochai and Lag BaOmer. Now the irony is, I just want to point out that on the one hand you have the burning of fires, which is obviously and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is considered a mystical creature existing at a very high level of holiness, and we see this in the Talmudic story, and one can understand how the idea of a burning fire can be associated with the passion and the holiness, the mysticism of a person, of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. But I also want to point out that the Talmud is warning us, I think, that the mysticism needs to be balanced out by reality, that there's some irony to the fact that everybody goes around lighting bonfires in memory, hopefully well supervised, and preferably not at all because of the environmental hazards and the risks to health, but it still does happen in Har Meron, where he's buried, and it still happens in Israel generally. But there is some irony to the burning of the fires, the celebration of this passionate side, the fiery side of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, when in fact the Talmud is saying, hold on a second, that needs to be balanced with an appreciation and understanding for the practicalities, day-to-day real life, which is also an important part of our existence, a part of our existence that God shows the utmost respect for when he tells Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai and his son Rabbi Elazar, cool it, literally actually, respect the world as it exists and the people who live in it and what they need to do to live in it. And don't think that you can come out and with your passion basically just burn everything up that you don't approve of. So a message of passion balanced out by one of acceptance of others and an appreciation and respect for how different people live their lives. Thank you very much. And again, most importantly, I hope that you are well and stay healthy. I look forward to sharing the next rabbinic story with you sometime soon.